Welcome to my Stirling Single. This is part 29, a different approach to the painting. If you're following this series, you will know that in the last episode I removed the paint that I brushed on, which wasn't successful. Then I masked up the engine using masking tape and gaffer tape or duct tape, and sprayed it with Etch Primer from a company called Autopaint Northern. Autopaint Northern is a paint company in the north of England. Everything that you're about to see in this episode took place 24 hours after applying the Etch Primer. What I'm currently doing is rubbing down the Smokebox door. This is 800 grit wet-to-dry sandpaper and I'm using it wet. The idea is not to rub off the Etch Primer, but just to smooth out its surface. In my opinion, this Autopaint Northern Etch Primer is the best that I've used. I'm going to try a test paint of the Smokebox door using some gloss black. First of all though, I'm making sure that there's no water left on it by gently warming the part using a very small blowtorch. At this point I thought it would be a good idea to rub down the rest of the engine using the same sandpaper. 800 grit wet-to-dry sandpaper used wet. This is quite a fiddly job, a bit tedious and takes a long time, and for that reason these video clips are running at twice the normal speed. First of all, I rubbed down the etching primer with 800 grit wet-to-dry sandpaper, and after doing that I repeated the process using some 1200 grit much finer wet-to-dry sandpaper, once again as you can see used wet. This etch primer really is good stuff. If you look closely you will see that on the edges of the brass banding around the boiler wrapper, the etch primer is firmly stuck and it's not been removed by the sandpaper. To get rid of the excess water and clean up the particles, I used a clean, dry cotton cloth. After thoroughly wiping the smokebox and the boiler wrapper with a cloth, I repeated the process with an even cleaner cloth. Then I used a paintbrush to get into the corners between the boiler banding and the main boiler wrapper. Once the smokebox and the boiler wrapper were thoroughly dry, I repeated this paintbrush job, but I used some panel wipe to remove any particles that remained there. I'm in the outer part of the workshop and the noise you can hear is the agitator ball inside the can as I shake the can vigorously to mix the paint. I actually shook the can for a full 2 minutes, but I didn't include that in the video. The paint that I'm using, by the way, is HMG Paints Gloss Black, and by the smell of it, this is a synthetic enamel paint. The first attempt was not good. I applied far too much paint. For some reason the earlier coat didn't seem to spread very well. So I quickly applied some more and then I got carried away and applied too much. This is no good at all. The Smokebox door looks just as bad as it did when I brush painted it. I have to admit painting is not really my forte, so I'm sure I will probably get some comments from bitter, twisted expert painters. The last time I spray painted something, I did receive a really bad comment from one of the viewers, and these days my psychotherapy is starting to get expensive. But never mind, at least it's someone to talk to. I'm really glad that I started with the Smokebox door, because I can easily remove the paint. All I need to do is immerse the part in a small tub with panel wipe in it. Panel wipe, by the way, doesn't normally remove paint, but it will remove enamel paint if it's still soft. And the good thing is, unlike cellulose thinners, or lacquer thinner as you call it in the USA, this panel wipe will not remove the etch primer. In no time at all, I'm ready for take 2. I've taken the tablets and I'm very relaxed. Here's the first coat, and on the right hand side is the tin that the paint's coming out of. While this very light coat is drying a bit, I'm going to shake the can. And after a second coat, the Smokebox door looks like this. The paint does appear to be reluctant to spread. It only started to spread on the third coat. This gave a better finish, but I don't like what's happening near one of the hinges. I'm going to try again. Nothing if not patient. Back into the tub of panel wipe. With the help of the paintbrush, the paint just washes off. This time I'm determined to do it by the book. A very light coat first. Then I left it for a while before I applied the second coat. The second coat of paint was also quite light. but as you can see, if you look at the hinge where it meets the smokebox door, there's something going on there. It may be that there's some oil underneath the hinge, because don't forget, this engine had been run in a raw unpainted state for some years. This enamel paint just doesn't want to stick in that area, so I'm going to change the paint for a different brand. As the paint started to dry, if you look at the bottom hinge, the one closest to the camera, look what's happening along the line. And the longer I left it, the worse it got. This time I got the paint application a good bit better. You can see my face very clearly in it. I still wasn't happy, so I washed it all off again with the panel wipe. Then I decided to use plan B. This clip shows the smokebox door after I painted it with Auto Paint Northern Gloss Black. This paint finish is much better. The only problems I've had with this is it tends to attack the masking tape. But the masking tape I used on the smokebox door hinges isn't really masking tape. It's just a piece of vinyl stick-on trim line. The main thing is the smokebox door itself looks really nice, just how I want it. So I think I will use this paint to paint the smokebox. I'm back in the inner part of the workshop, all the doors are open, and now I'm carefully spraying the smokebox. I want to get this right first time, because I don't think I'd be able to remove this type of paint using panel wipe, and if I use cellulose thinner, that would probably also remove the etch primer, and I don't want to do that either. I'm being very careful with this paint can. I'm spraying it like this in short hops because I feel that it's a better way of doing it and avoids runs or sags in the paint. Once again I adopted the same principle. A light coat followed by another light coat, and by the time I got to the third coat I applied a slightly thicker layer, and if the paint stays like this I will be well pleased. There's a bit of background noise on this clip because both of the workshop doors were wide open and I live quite near an airfield. That's enough paint on there, I think. It's a bit late, but here's a health and safety warning. This is my breathing mask that I use when I'm painting. I don't usually strap it to my head, I hold it in place with my spare hand. It's always a good idea to wear PPE when you're doing jobs like this. That's it for today. I can't do any more. What I need to do now is vacate the workshop and go and do something else. Here's the usual gratuitous shot of the paint drying, and on that note I'd just like to say, stay safe, stay well, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.